Good evening. My name is Barbara Michael, and I am a member of the Merrimack Rotary Club, and I'm going to help with the program moving it along this evening. We have 12 participants. They have numbers. I'm not even going to give you any of their names, but you all have a program, and if you didn't, you want one. There's one in the back for you. Any questions? Good. Number 1, would you like to come up, please?
Is it possible that even though today's teens have more freedom than any other generation, we're actually missing out on the best years of our lives? When I first read that statement in the book Do Hard Things by Alex and Brett Harris, I wasn't really sure what the authors meant. I thought, how could teens be missing out on anything when we have so many options? If you think about it, we really do have a lot of choices. High school is the time in our lives when we really start to discover who we are as a person. The search for one's identity can be exhausting and frustrating at times, but it can also be exciting and fun to try new things. Well, finding new things to do is no problem at my high school. Extracurricular activities are everywhere, and there are plenty of opportunities to try new waters and see where you belong. A wide variety of opportunities exist outside of school as well. Teens are learning to drive, getting their first jobs, and starting to think about life after high school. From this perspective, it sounds great. And yet, even with all of the resources we have available to us, I still thought back to that original statement. Could we really be missing something? Well, that's what I'm here to talk to you about. I believe that it is absolutely necessary for today's teens to establish a sense of direction and responsibility during their years of adolescence so that they don't find themselves lost or confused once they enter the real world. As I mentioned earlier, this new generation of young people has access to more resources and freedoms than anyone else before us. But even though there may be an immense variety of options available for today's teens, I thought about how for many people, that's all they are. Options. Adolescence may be a period of time where kids start to develop new freedoms, yet they aren't always expected to gain an equal amount of responsibility. And this lack of focus does not help them in the long run. According to an article by Lev Grossman in Time, quote, "The years from 18 until 25, and even beyond, have become a distinct and separate life stage, a strange, transitional never-never land between adolescence and adulthood, in which people stall for a few extra years, putting off the iron cage of adult responsibility, which constantly threatens to crash down on them." End quote. That sounds encouraging, right? Without accepting responsibility, it's difficult to fully establish oneself as an adult. In order to prevent this stage of uncertainty later on in life, teens need to establish a sense of direction early on, without feeling overwhelmed or pressured. And while this may sound difficult, it's definitely not impossible. Through my participation in the Interact Club, I have found that the Rotary 4-way test provides ample direction and guidance and serves as the perfect roadmap for the teens struggling to navigate through adolescence. The first question of the 4-way test, is it the truth? Allow me to address this question using some personal insight. In my own years as a teen at Merrimack High, I've heard adults make the following statements, or similar, about my generation. "Oh, you know what happens with kids these days," or, "Oh, he's in a bad mood today, he's just being your typical teenager." Such remarks can be discouraging to hear, especially when they come from friends and family. They provide no support and no direction, and they leave teens to wonder, what is this typical teenager? One that misbehaves, talks back, doesn't want to work hard? What kind of a message do such implications send to today's students? Certainly not truthful ones. The second question, is it fair to all concerned? I mentioned earlier that adolescence is the time in our lives when we really discover who we are. However, high school only lasts 4 years, and this time can fly by, as I'm learning myself. I remember freshman year just like it was yesterday, and yet in a month, I'll be picking my senior classes. This short period of time needs to be used efficiently and effectively so that teens can reap the most benefits. Otherwise, we may find ourselves in trouble when it comes time to enter the workforce. For instance, how are we supposed to become leaders if we never learn to communicate our ideas or work with others in a group? Can we really expect people to take responsibility for their actions if they've never before been called upon to accept the consequences of their own actions? Not only is this lack of preparation unfair to teens, but it can also negatively affect their future coworkers, employers, and even their family members. The third question, will it build goodwill and better friendships? I certainly cannot think of an instance where a lack of responsibility helps to build either one. It is important for teens to develop that sense of direction and responsibility while they're still in high school, because they'll be able to apply that focus to building better friendships in the future. In addition, once they have established such leadership abilities and learned to act responsibly and maturely, they will be able to use their new skills to build goodwill. The fourth and final question, will it be beneficial to all concerned? To answer this question, we can simply ask, what would the world be like if the next generation of adults entered the workforce completely unprepared for what lied ahead of them? Would anyone benefit? I certainly don't think so. Though the final decision is ultimately up to the individual, today's students need the help of their family members and the people in their community to encourage them every step of the way. We may have been called a generation of apathetic, lazy students to some, but I know these stereotypes are only true if we let ourselves fall into them. Us typical teenagers need a support group, people who will help us prepare for our futures by teaching us how to set realistic goals and work diligently to achieve them. I'm here to call out for your help because I believe that with the right sense of direction and focus, and guidance as well, we teens will never again have to miss out on the best years of our lives. Thank you.
On your program, you will see all kinds of information about this evening. It's pretty important to the Merrimack Rotary to host this every year. This is the 22nd annual, and I bet in town and in the newspapers they don't usually write up about this evening, but it's pretty important to us. We are very lucky to be working with teachers directly at the high school who plan this every year for us. And I would like to introduce to you, even though they don't want me to, Diana Planetier is the classroom teacher with the speech classes, and they adhere to this. And then Linda Mondra is here, and is Jan's not here, is she? I don't see her.
No, Jan is here, Linda's not.
And Linda's not here. And I have glasses on, I still don't see her. Okay. But thank you very much for helping us with this, and a round of applause for these ladies, please. Participant number 2.
At the beginning of senior year, guidance counselors come to class to ask the students to make a decision. This decision is for the student's future. When anyone thinks of the future after high school, their mind automatically thinks college. But college isn't for everyone. I'm one of those students who believe college isn't for me. I've noticed that when I tell adults I'm not going to college, their reaction is, oh. I then will tell them that I'm going into cosmetology and barbering, and their reply to that is, that sounds cool. They react this way because they think of the stigmas associated with cosmetology, which is people who go to cosmetology only go because they have nothing going for them or they can't get into college. I'm not going into cosmetology because it's so-called easy or I can't get into college. I have the grades to get into college. I've actually made honor roll all 4 years in high school. The true reason as to why I'm going into cosmetology is it's my dream. And doesn't everyone tell you to follow your dreams? Well, that's exactly what I'm doing, and I cannot wait to start it. Is it the truth? Ever since middle school, guidance counselors and teachers have been telling students to be prepared to choose a career they will pursue after high school. To pick a career they will be happy with and be a well-paying job. They also tell students to keep their grades in check so they will get into good colleges in order to be successful in their career lives. These counselors and teachers make it seem as if you don't go to college, you won't be successful in life. But that is not true. My hairdresser, for example, went into cosmetology just as I will be, and now owns her own hair salon. Statistics show that the average starting income for a hair salon owner in New Hampshire is $72,373. And as the salon owner works towards the age of retirement, the income can increase to $103,389. Not bad. Also, since I know what I want to do after high school, I will work as hard as I can to achieve this goal, maybe even harder than someone going to college as undecided. The students going to college as undecided may not work that hard because they're confused on what they want their careers to be, or they don't like their classes they're taking in the meantime. Is it fair to all concerned? The goal of graduating seniors shouldn't always be college. People assume I'm going to college because I'm a good student, but being a good student doesn't mean college should be my only option. Guidance counselors, teachers, parents, and more put so much pressure on students to go to college that some students may simply go to please their elders. I know if I squelched my dreams and entered college to please my elders, it would leave me unsatisfied. An example of going into college unsatisfied is of my brother's friend. This friend went to a local college right after high school to become a business analyst. After graduating, he found a job and now has a successful career. Although he says looking back, he wished he didn't go to college. He says he wished he went to a trade school to become an electrician. This is a great example as to why schools need to teach and promote other options. They will quickly brush over it to tell you it's there, but never in detail. Therefore, students like my brother's friend could have possibly found something they are more passionate about in high school than what college has to offer. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? If there are no standards and assumptions, then I believe people would have more freedom to pursue their dreams. If people would be accepting of others' choices, then it could lead to potential friendships. I've noticed in my case that telling my friends I'm going into cosmetology are more accepting than adults. Friends will always tell me I can do their hair when I get into school. I've already started a clientele for when I get in the salon, or for when my friends get married, I can style their hair. Because my friends didn't judge me on my decisions, we have created stronger friendships that could potentially last us after high school. Furthermore, if I were to go to college where I would be unsatisfied, I may not make friends because I'm in a place that's not meant for me. Yet, going to cosmetology, I'll be able to make friends more easily because I'm passionate about what I'm studying, and I'm with students who have the same career interests as me. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? I believe teaching students that college isn't the only option would be beneficial. Then people like me wouldn't get disappointing reactions anymore and will be accepted for my choices. Without the standards and assumptions, I wouldn't be nervous to tell people what I want to do in life. I'd be able to hold my head high and be proud. I shouldn't be nervous telling people what I want to do. Despite that, I can tend to doubt my choices even though I know for a fact that cosmetology is what I want to do. Another reason choosing not to go to college is it will be beneficial financially. Instead of graduating college in debt and having to move back home with my parents to get myself back on my feet, I'll be able to pay off the cosmetology dues fairly quickly and move out sooner than most young adults. According to a Wells Fargo retirement survey, more than half, 54% of millennials, say that college debt is their biggest financial concern, surpassing day-to-day expenses. That is a large amount of people who are in debt because of college. The average price for students going to a four-year college is between $48,000 and $200,000. That leaves a student in debt between $26,000 and $100,000. Yet, going to cosmetology, the average cost will be $20,000, and the average debt a student will face is $10,000, which will be a lot easier to pay off than the four-year college loans. Yes, many students who go to college will earn their money back with their careers, but I've known people who graduated and weren't able to find jobs, and now work in retail and restaurants. All in all, college is actually a good fit for a lot of people, but I'm up here giving voice to students that believe college isn't college isn't for them.
As you can see on the program, each of the students who are participating tonight will receive $25. It's all tax-free. We have three prizes. The first prize is going to be $250. The second prize is going to be $150. And the third prize is going to be $75. And they'll get a check tonight and run with it so we don't run after you to give it back for a donation to the Rotary group. contestant number 3.
I want you to imagine being born into this world for the first time. Imagine your parents loving you the moment they laid eyes on you. Picture growing up and feeling normal. You make friends and family just like anyone else. But suddenly, everyone starts thinking of you as different before you know it, for something you can't control. You lose your friends, and your family begins to love you a little bit less. As people get to know the real you, you're not the innocent baby anymore. There's suddenly something wrong with you. People beat you up, make fun of you, and throw insults at you that don't even make any sense. Constantly, you are told that no one will accept you. You consider committing suicide because you're starting to believe them. And you've never done anything to deserve these hurtful comments. You've always been kind and polite and worked your hardest at everything. But you're different. People don't like what they don't understand, right? And because of that, they restrict your rights, something that, according to the Constitution, should be illegal. But they dehumanize you anyways, and you try to prove them wrong and show them facts that you're just like anyone else. But they don't care. They obviously don't like you. They can lie and say they do, but there's no way that's possible because without acceptance and respect, there can be no friendship. You feel alone. Is this the truth about what it's like to be gay? Yes. So many people die because they are either killed or commit suicide because they are seen as not normal for being gay. According to gay bullying statistics, 30% of the people who commit suicide each year are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or some other version of non-heterosexuality. This is referred to as LGBT. Is this closed-minded view about gay people due to faulty opinions fair to all concerned? Of course not. People are dying because of it. Aren't you tired of people losing their lives because of who they love? I know I am. Today, I am here to dismantle the excuses often made by people who are anti-gay rights. They say it's just someone's opinion if they don't think gay people are normal or don't think they should get married. You can't change that. Really? Well, the sky is red. What, it's not? Well, I think the sky is red, so that's my opinion. So you should let me think the sky is red. Wait, there's scientific proof that the sky is blue? You can physically see that the sky is blue? Well, I'm going to ignore that because I don't want to change my closed-minded view. Do you hear how ridiculous that sounds? It doesn't make much sense. Why ignore fact? Then there are people who use their religion as an excuse to hurt other people. They say, God hates gays. He says homosexuality is a sin. Yes, God did say in Leviticus 18:22 that man shall not lie with another man. But that was said during the times of Sodom and Gomorrah, where men were forcibly raping other men. Also, if we're taking the Old Testament so literally, then we shouldn't be allowed to eat pork products, right? I mean, that's what it says in Deuteronomy 14:8. The Old Testament is old for a reason. We've matured as a species and come to learn and accept new things. The New Testament doesn't really say anything bad about gay people. And why would God create something in order to hate it? From what I've been told, God is a being of love. It loves all its children, tall or short, young or old, and gay or straight. Were Christians not taught in Mark 12:31, you shall love your neighbor as you love yourself? There's also people who try to sound factual and say, but gays aren't natural because they can't reproduce. Some women can't reproduce because they're infertile. Does that mean they're not normal people? According to Andrew Blackstone from Listverse, animals in the wild, such as ducks and dolphins, have homosexual tendencies. Does this make them not normal animals? And who says our purpose in life is to mindlessly reproduce? Lots of heterosexual people choose not to have children. Does that make them unnatural? We don't really know what life is all about, so what right do we have to dictate each other's? Some people say, I just don't like the idea of being gay. I wouldn't date someone of the same gender. Of course, date who you want, just as I should have the freedom to date who I want, right? Others say, if gays get marriage rights, we'll have to change the dictionary definition of marriage. The dictionary has new slang words like selfie in it now and gets updated almost every year. It's really not that difficult of a change to make. Then we have those who say, all gay people are creepy and will hit on me. Homosexuals are not attracted to people who say this and generally don't go after straight people, just as a straight guy wouldn't go after a straight guy. It's not what they're interested in. Finally, we have those who say, but gay people have a choice to be gay. Just choose not to be gay. Actually, homosexual people don't have a choice. It's scientifically proven, according to the Washington Times, that they're born that way. Just like someone doesn't choose to be born African American, a woman, or mentally challenged. People will support any of those three I just mentioned because they were born a certain way and can't help it. But not gay people who were born a certain way and can't help it. There is no excuse for treating a homosexual person as less than human. Everyone deserves respect. And everyone deserves an equal chance at life. Please don't take that away from someone. What if that was your friend, your sibling, your child? Leila Alcorn, a transgender female, 17 years old, committed suicide this year, throwing herself in front of a truck because her family treated her like she was wrong and disgusting for being transgender. People are also murdered just for being gay. Tony Hunter, 27 years old, was beaten along with his boyfriend by attackers who saw them leaving a gay bar. He sustained such horrible injuries that it killed him. Why are we letting innocent people die this way? Why can't we just celebrate individuality? Will it spread goodwill and better friendships if we learn to accept and respect homosexuals? Yes, of course. We'd have a wider range of friends, and gay people would feel as if they have more of a reason to live. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Yes, by educating ourselves on gay people and giving them the rights they deserve, we could start to stop innocent people dying, and people could have the freedom to be themselves. We could spread love instead of hate. I was always taught to say, you don't have to accept me, just please respect me. I've realized that's wrong. There's no reason not to accept it. Share this knowledge, please. Take it and think hard about it. Put yourself in my shoes, and the shoes of the gay people who died unjustly. I want everyone to know how hard it is to be gay and how much it hurts. It shouldn't have to hurt.
I can guarantee you tonight that you will learn things about your sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, whatever relationship you have with these young teenagers, that they are incredibly perceptive about everything that goes around them. And we are going to learn things that we really didn't know, that they knew, feel about, think about, and you will see them in a different light. Participant number 4.
When we hear Ben criticize Sarah, we often sympathize with Sarah and think Ben to be harsh. Even with more context, such as Ben, the softball coach, criticized Sarah about her pitching, we feel that Ben is simply calling Sarah out in front of the team. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, criticism is the expression of disapproval of someone or something based on perceived faults or mistakes, which affirms the popular definition. This negative connotation is even reflected in the Pixar film Ratatouille. In the film, renowned food critic Anton Ego is portrayed as harsh and domineering. At the end of the film, after a realization he had, he remarks on this negativity in his review, stating, "In many ways, the work of a critic is easy. We risk very little, yet enjoy a position over those who offer their work and themselves to our judgment. We thrive on negative criticism, which is fun to write and to read. But the bitter truth we critics must face is that in the grand scheme of things, the average piece of junk is probably more meaningful than our criticism designating it so." This last sentence about critics hits a chord inside of us and leads us to wonder, what is the role of a critic? There is another definition of criticism, though, which is closer to the original, and states criticism is the analysis and judgment of the merits and faults of a literary or artistic work. Is the critic less meaningful than the piece of junk they are criticizing? Yes, according to the first definition. The critic disapproves of the junk and offers nothing other than its faults. However, I believe that a critic can also be as great and as meaningful as the advice and counsel that they offer to the object of their criticism, so long as they think critically and analyze the whole object, what is wrong and what is correct, and can explain it effectively so as to help the criticized person improve. Is it true? Oftentimes, criticism isn't true. It can either be overly critical or not critical enough. Overly critical only highlights the things that are wrong. It distorts the view of the image to make it worse than it is. Conversely, if you're not critical enough, you only praise something and never point out any major flaws because you either don't want to upset the person or you don't recognize them. Both of these are often shown in movie critiques, where you'll either see a glowing praise of a film or something that just mentions every fault that an actor or actress has. However, criticism can be true. Through critical analysis, we're able to learn. And we must see both sides of an argument, the good and the bad, in order to better understand it. In English classes, we'll often have Socratic seminars, which the point is to try and understand the truth from multiple perspectives. We agree and disagree with one another. We argue, we poke holes in each other's logic, we agree with each other in support. But in the end, we often don't get anywhere, but we do get closer to understanding the truth. Is it fair? Criticism can be fair and it cannot be fair. If a critic elevates himself above his subject of criticism, then it is not fair. The two are at odds with each other, and they often feel antagonized. However, if you even the playing field, criticism can be fair. The critic is able to offer their reasons and advice without having to beat the other person down. This friendly environment allows the object of criticism to listen to the ideas rather than feel antagonized. Will criticism build goodwill and better friendships? Sometimes it will not. People feel personally attacked when people criticize them and immediately shut the person down. They feel that because you're criticizing them, you're simply being arrogant and think that you're above them. However, criticism can build goodwill and friendships. It can help improve individuals and develop relationships within a group. One example of this is on the swim team. I am a captain of the swim team, and we have over half the team is first-year swimmers. The captains have to help the coaches teach the new swimmers how to do basic technique for different strokes. And in order to do this, we split them up into small groups and work with them one-on-one. Last week, we were working on flip turns. So we would each take a group of 3 swimmers and bring them to the wall, and they would each go through their flip turn, and we would give them personal criticism. I would tell one person, you need to tuck your knees in more, and another person, you should be closer to the wall. Because we were peers and because we were helping each other, instead of simply saying, you need to do this, you're doing this wrong, it allowed the swimmers to better understand their technique, how to improve, and eventually, at that weekend, they were able to do their flip turns for the first time. Is it beneficial to all concerned? Sometimes criticism can be so negative that people simply give up. They feel insulted and refuse to accept the criticism simply out of spite. It hurts the relationship between the critic and the criticized. My sister Rebecca had an example of this type of criticism in her English class one year. She was excited for the English class and ready for the discussion of her class, but when my parents went in for a parent-teacher conference and asked, what can Rebecca do to improve in English, the teacher said, she doesn't really speak in class anymore. I wish she should speak up more. And when my parents asked my sister about this, they asked why she wasn't participating. My sister said that after being told you're wrong so many times, you simply don't raise your hand. This type of criticism isn't beneficial to anyone. However, criticism is beneficial if you take it the right way. It is an opportunity for a mentor to pass on their knowledge and an opportunity for students to learn from their elders. In my Boy Scout troop, there is a certain position called the troop guide. The sole responsibility of this position is to pass on knowledge to the first-year and second-year scouts so that they can learn their basic skills of camping, leadership, and organization. Without this person, the first and second-year scouts would not be able to become the self-sufficient people they become by their middle years and later years of scouting. And without having these first years in this position available, the older scouts would not be able to help the younger scouts to learn. Next time that you hear criticism, how will you react? Will you express disapproval based on perceived faults and mistakes? Or will you think critically and analyze the merits and the faults? The world does not need any more cynics expressing disapproval. It needs more critics whose insight can help each person, each community, and the world. Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about what the Rotary actually does. Rotary is a worldwide service organization. We have 60 clubs in our district, which is part of New Hampshire and part of Vermont. And then we also do some things on a worldwide scale. Some of us have visited different places. Some of us have received or given donations to other places around the world. But we in Merrimack, we raise a lot of money every year, and we try to give it back to the community in a variety of ways. How many people have purchased a Christmas tree from the Rotary Christmas tree sales every year? We've been doing this for over 25 years. And we do raise some money and put that in the kitty with a lot of other things that we do. How many have attended the pancake breakfast? Okay, we've been doing that for over 30 years. So remember us when you see the Rotary, that we also have this wonderful night for these high school kids. This would be participant number, I can't see that far, 5.
Did you know that according to Shared Hope, over 100,000 girls are exploited in America each year? Or that the average age entry into domestic minor sex trafficking is just 13 years old? One contributing factor is how media exploits women and normalizes the sexualization of girls. Whether it's through movies, TV shows, internet, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, they all have the same power to desensitize us to this reality. Oregon Family Media stated, when a person is repeatedly exposed to a certain stimulus, over time, it has a tendency to become desensitized to us. Now, if you think about it, almost every element of TV has some sort of sex in it. Now, as we watch these shows and movies, it's causing us to become desensitized to it and having our brains ignore it, and that carries over into our everyday lives. And this goes into how teens treat other teens for the use of sex. Media has also given sexual predators more access to young girls and has made it easier to sell them through the use of various websites. Another factor is men resorting to pornography. A study found by Shared Hope has proven that pornography causes a chemical reaction in the brain that makes them become more aggressive towards women. If there were to be no demand for this, there would be no issue. But unfortunately, the demand is great, with many young lives at risk. Is it the truth? Sadly, yes. This is the truth. Holly Austin Smith shared her story in a book she wrote called Walking Prey. She was 14 years old when she met a man at the mall. She shared her dreams and troubles with him, and without her noticing, he was analyzing everything she was saying. She said she wanted to be a singer, and she wanted to have that life that media had painted in all the magazines and on the shows she was watching. And the man she met promised her he could give her that life, that he could fulfill all of her dreams. And after hearing that over and over again, and being in a depression before she started her freshman year of high school, she agreed to run away with him. But she found out that she ran herself into a miserable life, sold for sex to countless numbers of men in New Jersey. When the police got involved, she was arrested for prostitution, until she was able to prove that she was the victim here. Stories like this are very common among young girls in America, and that's the truth of sex trafficking. Is it fair to all concerned? Domestic minor sex trafficking is not fair. The only way to make it fair is to abolish it completely. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, domestic minor sex trafficking is the second fastest growing criminal industry, just behind drug trafficking. It is a form of modern-day slavery, and it should have ended with the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. Many still do not see it as an issue in the United States because they don't see it happening. Attorney General Eric Holder said, in communities nationwide, human trafficking victims are often hiding in plain sight. These victims are placed in common businesses such as nail salons, massage spas, motels, and escort services. Oftentimes, society mistakes that these girls want this life, that they chose it. But that is not the case. These girls are the victims of a crime. An organization called RAIN researched and found that these girls are 4 times more likely to suffer from severe depression and commit suicide. This is one of the issues of trafficking. It devalues life and gets those involved to view themselves as worthless, and that their lives mean nothing. Isn't that sad? There are thousands and thousands of girls that are involved who see their lives as meaningless, that they are no more than an object for sex. How is this fair? Well, the truth is, there is nothing fair about being a victim of sex trafficking. Will it build goodwill and better friendship? If these girls could be rescued and brought out of domestic minor sex trafficking and restored to typical life, it would most definitely result in goodwill and better relationships. Currently, the young women of sex trafficking have known a life worse than death itself. The conditions they are forced to live in are atrocious. I've been held down like a piece of meat as I've been violated by men disguised as monsters as they violated me again and again, said Gladys Lawson as she described what these girls feel as they live this horrible life. They have absolutely no freedoms and experience horrors such as abuse, violence, deprivation, drugs, rape, STDs, unwanted pregnancies, and torture, as Polaris Project stated. These kind of conditions often lead to trauma. Rain found that these girls are 6 times more likely to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and are 25 times more likely to abuse substances. This is because of the conditions in which they live through and because they have been stripped of their family, friends, and anything ordinary. This also means they will miss things like prom, football games, and often will not be married, or even get the chance to have their own family. With ending domestic minor sex trafficking, relationships would be restored. If young women experience improved economic and social status, sex trafficking would in large part be non-existent. Eradicating trafficking would lead to healthier families, more girls being able to focus on their education, more value of life, respect for human dignity, and crime rates going down. To build better communities and safer environments for our youth, we need to raise awareness and end domestic minor sex trafficking. Is it beneficial to all concerned? The first question we need to answer is who are the concerned? They are the victims, their families, our local community, our nation, and the world. Yes, eradicating sex trafficking would benefit them all. For us in high school, this is the true reality. These men are in our malls and at our coffee shops where my friends and I like to go. We are the ones who are on social media, opening our lives to the public, which often include these predators. As a teenage girl, knowing these facts and hearing so many stories, it's opened my eyes, and I, for one, want to stand against this injustice. Not only for my friends and I, but for all girls who are vulnerable to sex trafficking. Raising awareness of trafficking is the first step to ending it. The more people concerned and fight against domestic minor sex trafficking, the more beneficial the outcome will be. I'll close with a quote from 18th century abolitionist William Wilberforce, who said, "You can choose to look the other way, but you can never again say that you didn't know. And now that you know, what will you do?" Thank you.
You have a list of our membership on the back of the program. Does anyone know any of the names on the Merrimack list? Is anyone familiar to you? We have several people here tonight. If the Rotarians will stand up, I'm not going to mention names because I'm not going to embarrass anyone with any jokes or anything. Peter Flood's here, Bill Wilkes is here, Mike Hoover, Jane Hoover, our president. We have President Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 this year, 3 months apiece. Four brave people, Ron Duville. Right here we want to thank all the judges and timers. Marge Shaffrey's here, Bob Freed, Joyce Jobin, Eric Gallant. We have Hollis, pardon me for pointing, we have the Hollis Brookline Rotarians come all the way over here to help us. They really want to do this, but they haven't been able to with their area. But out of the goodness of their heart, they come over here and help us with ours tonight. So a round of applause for them. And participant number 6.
It's summertime. You're sitting poolside with your friends and family soaking up the sun. One friend stands by the grill flipping burgers. The mouth-watering aroma drifts over as you envision yourself biting into that juicy patty. But wait a minute. Have you ever really thought about what that hamburger is made out of? Where did it come from, and is it even healthy? The sad truth is, you probably haven't. Because if you really knew, you wouldn't want to eat it anymore. After researching a bit, what I found was the horrifying truth of our meat industry. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and tell you all that you need to be vegans or you're terrible people, because that's unreasonable. And I understand that as humans, we've always eaten meat. Meat in moderation is actually a good source of protein and other nutrients. However, what I am asking for each and every one of you to do is to understand what you're eating. Unfortunately, the meat products that most consumers buy are the result of horrifying animal cruelty and unnatural means of production. So what is the truth about our food? I think that every person should be able to answer that question. Personally, the appalling treatment of animals in the meat industry is what made me become a vegetarian. 108 billion animals are killed for consumption every year in the U.S. alone. A common saying is, if slaughterhouses had glass walls, everyone would be vegetarian. Cows are fed an unnatural diet to make them grow faster, which causes constant bloating and pain. Female cows are always pregnant to ensure the production of milk. Once they are no longer of use, they are sent to the slaughterhouse to endure torturous death. Chickens live in quarters so close that they can hardly walk. Their excrement takes up the entire ground space. They are also typically given growth hormones to grow so fast that they collapse on themselves. In the egg industry, hens are kept in cages where they are so cramped that they can never spread a single wing. Their bones break and muscles deteriorate. The practices are similar in the pig industry. Surprisingly enough, pigs have a higher intelligence than most dogs, and they can perform tasks that a 3-year-old child could not. However, they are kept in cages so small that they go insane from the stress. They are also bred to grow unnaturally fast, causing injuries and constant pain. Then, their throats are cut while completely conscious, and they are left to bleed out. Not only are slaughterhouses bad news for the animals living in them, but they are also a threat to human safety. The animals run rampant with disease and illness. Nearly all of them are given antibiotics just so that they can survive the environment. About 70% of antibiotics used went to animals on factory farms. So what does that mean for the consumer? Bacteria in your body could build a resistance to the antibiotics. So the next time you're sick, the medicine the doctor prescribes you might not even work. You wouldn't buy a rotten tomato, so why would you buy meat from a pig that's been diseased, tortured, and caged up for the entirety of its life? The meat industry is responsible for diseases like bird flu, mad cow disease, and the spread of bacteria like Salmonella and E. coli, which can cause death. In 1993, in Milwaukee, 403,000 people were ill and 104 people dead. The cause of this tragedy? Toxins from a nearby factory farm. And the worst part is there's legitimately no need for the meat industry to practice like this. There's a healthy and natural way to farm. If allowed to live naturally, animals would grow up strong, produce eggs and milk on their own without any growth hormones. They could walk around freely and live good and healthy lives. And then they could be killed in a more humane way for our consumption. The only motivation for this twisted form of animal cruelty is money. It is cheaper and more profitable to produce meat in this manner, so the big businesses take over the small, natural farmers, and the consumers mindlessly buy the lesser product. If the reality of the meat industry doesn't steer you towards the direction of less meat, then maybe the health benefits will. It is consistently proven that people who eat red meat and pork have a higher risk of colon cancer and heart disease. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is actually pushing people to eat less meat. Studies show that vegetarians are healthier than meat eaters, and at the top of the health list are vegans who avoid animal products entirely. So while it is true that yes, meat is okay, less meat is better. As humans, the healthiest option is to eat a diet based on plants. Is this argument fair to all concerned? Yes. Whether you are an animal lover or just someone who cares about their health, everyone deserves to know the truth about what they are eating. Will it build goodwill and friendship? Yes. This information will help create a sense of goodwill towards animals and the environment. As a society, we will be making a more positive impact on the world. So how can we improve our own well-being and the well-being of the farm animals of the world? We stop buying the products. The meat industry is non-existent without the consumers. Imagine if every person committed themselves to only eating meat once a week. We would all be consuming more vegetables and whole grains, keeping our bodies healthy. Also, people would be more capable of spending the extra money to buy organic, free-range meats. These come from farms who raise their livestock the way nature intended. That way, we would be putting ourselves at a lower risk of disease, and we would stop supporting the torture of innocent animals. Now, is this beneficial to everyone? It is, except for those at the head of the meat industry making millions. So I ask you all today, please find out where your meat is coming from. Watch those videos that uncover the truth about the meat industry. Do yourself a favor and do the environment a favor and lower your intake of meat. It's a small step that will catapult the world towards the right direction. Thank you.
Now I'm going to guess most of you didn't eat before you came because you rushed here to get here at 6 o'clock, and now you don't have anything to go home and eat. We have gone through half of the evening, and I'm sure you've learned a lot of things that you didn't know about your students, but there's more to come. This is participant number 7.
In schools all over the United States, students stand up every morning and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. This is an innocent act, taught when young, easily memorized, and eventually becomes a habit. After a while, the words just spill out of your mouth without any acknowledgement of what is being said. It becomes a daily activity, a constant, and the children repeating the pledge are inclined to repeat it every day. There is an American flag in every room, and every morning students stand up, place their right hand over their heart, and pledge to the flag. I believe that children, as young as preschoolers, should not be taught a song without understanding the meaning behind it, especially since the pledge includes the controversial phrase, "under God." In 1943, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that school children could not be forced to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. But students are pressed to say "under God," almost forced at such a young age. The phrase "under God" needs to be taken out of the Pledge of Allegiance. Let me start off by saying I'm not religious. I'm not an atheist either. I'm still learning about different religions and figuring everything out. I'm remaining open-minded. But considering that the Pledge of Allegiance includes a line that says, "And to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God," this is a complete violation of my freedom of religion. The original Pledge of Allegiance was written in 1892 by Francis Bellamy, a Baptist minister and faith leader. The original text did not include any reference to God or religion. It wasn't until 62 years later that the Knights of Columbus and other faith organizations joined together and forced the Congress to put God into the pledge. The reason? Abraham Lincoln included the phrase "under God" in the Pledge of in the Gettysburg Address, and this set the United States apart from other nations, so they decided that the phrase should be added. In 1954, God was officially put into the Pledge of Allegiance. This is crazy to me. A religious leader wrote the original text, did not include a single reference to religion, then, 62 years later, we decided to change the text to include God. We turned a secular patriotic pledge into a statement of faith. "Under God" was not there in the beginning. It should not be there now. Is it fair to all concerned? Yes, it is fair to take out the phrase, because then neither non-religious nor religious phrases would be included in the pledge. Would it be beneficial to all concerned? Yes, I believe that changing the phrase would be beneficial to the United States. Right now, the Pledge of Allegiance completely defies the freedom of religion that the United States started. Also, the nation was founded with the specific intent that the government and church remain separated. By taking the phrase away, the United States will be standing by its rights and remaining true to its beliefs. Overall, the change would be beneficial to the United States. Will it bring about goodwill and better friendships? Well, some are upset that this is even an issue because it should be no big deal. In a survey by Washington Times, Audrey Ruth, a kindergarten teacher from New Hampshire, says, "It seems an angry minority is bullying virtually everyone these days." I believe that this angry minority should be heard and that changes should be made. Others argue that taking out the phrase "under God" would jeopardize the unity among Americans. Susan Wright, a lawyer from Massachusetts, says, "The pledge brings the children, adults, and all American citizens together. Including a phrase about a single belief does not define the unity among Americans. Another way to stay connected can be figured out instead of continuing to compromise freedom of religion. Attending your church and singing songs about God, or joining with your friends and talking about your beliefs. And educating yourself and others will bring about goodwill and better friendships." Is it the truth? Yes, this argument has been brought up in multiple court cases since 1954. A New York Times article highlighted past court cases involving the Pledge of Allegiance. In 2004, the Supreme Court rejected an attack on the pledge, holding that the plaintiff, an atheist activist, did not have proper standing to challenge the pledge. Considering this atheist activist was displaying his freedom of religion by believing there is no God, he was turned away. In 2010, a challenge from a doctor in California was rejected because the Pledge of Allegiance does not violate the Establishment Clause because the predominant purpose was to inspire religion. the predominant purpose was to inspire patriotism. And now it was to inspire patriotism. Exactly. The predominant purpose was to inspire patriotism, and now it inspires religion. In 2014, Massachusetts' highest state court unanimously rejected a challenge to the pledge, finding that the pledge, notwithstanding its reference to God, is a fundamentally patriotic exercise, not a religious one. The court said that, despite the reference to God, the pledge is solely patriotic, but the pledge does include God, which makes it religious. All of these cases have something in common. The person challenging the pledge is an adult. It seems that the pledge mainly affects children nowadays, because it is mostly recited inside schools every day. I believe this is a probable reason that the Pledge of Allegiance court cases have continuously get shut down. The Pledge of Allegiance does affect me, though, every single day. The option to remain seated and stay quiet during the pledge is available, but if I did, I'd be judged and questioned by my peers and teachers. Why didn't you stand up for the pledge? What do you have against the American flag? Do you not support the United States? Just because we cannot legally be forced to stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance does not mean it would be left unnoticed. This is why I feel change should be made. In this day and age, the United States has become a lot more open-minded. We welcome new ideas, religions, and beliefs. Significant change is embraced. I believe that this type of attitude should be applied to the Pledge of Allegiance. I understand change can be difficult, especially when it involves our traditions, but in this case, it would be worth it. The initial Pledge of Allegiance did not include God. Maybe it's time to go back to the original. Thank you.
We want you to know that the winner of tonight's contest has the opportunity to go to a district contest, and it's Sunday, April 19th in Henniker. And I don't know how many participants they have, but it'll be people from all over Vermont and New Hampshire. And then our district will have finals, and we have a conference every year. It's at different places, and this year our conference is in Portland, Maine. And our Rotary group will help to defray the costs of the competition for a parent and that child or a guardian and that child to go to the conference in May. So there's quite an opportunity here for the kids to go on. Now let's listen to participant number 8.
When was the last time you or someone you know said something along the lines of, "That's retarded," "You're mental," or "I'm crazy," and didn't mean it literally? For most of us, the answer would be today. Somewhere along the way, we were told that this type of language was acceptable, and we embraced it into our everyday lives. How this came to be, I'll never know, but I do know this. Stereotyping a mental illness or learning disability is wrong, and understanding this fact is the first step to fixing the issue. The next step is understanding the illness itself. Many people treat all learning disabilities as a mental illness, which in a way they are. However, not all learning disabilities are as severe as some believe. Throughout my school years, I've noticed how some of the children with learning disabilities are outcasted, avoided, and made fun of, especially if their disability could be easily identified by a paraprofessional. I also noticed firsthand how differently someone would behave when they discovered their friend had a learning disability. I was once made fun of for having attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. Looking at me or my grades, one would never guess. But if someone really tried to get to know me, the disorder would be obvious. I have a 504, which is almost like an individualized educational program, or IEP, that allows for me to receive 2 copies of all of my textbooks, extra time on tests, projects, or homework by teacher's discretion, and an 8th period study. The textbook rule was put into place because I used to always forget my books. The extra time was placed to allow for my lapses in focus, and the study rule was to allow me more time to get my homework done. These modifications are hardly if ever used anymore. I don't forget my textbooks, my time management is getting better, and as long as I have a study in general, I'm all set. My friends used to tell me, "I'd never know you had ADHD. It doesn't show." Well, it doesn't show because I take medication, but there are some things my medication can't help me with, or make worse. I'm pretty much incapable of studying. I can study flashcards, that's about it. Otherwise, I get distracted and push my studying off until the time no longer exists. So, basically, I don't study. Now, About the H. My medicine does a pretty good job of calming me down, but sometimes certain things will set me off. For instance, there are certain food colorings found in snacks, such as Doritos and Cheetos, that are proven to aggravate the symptoms of ADHD. Surprisingly, the medicines used to control symptoms of ADHD are not depressants, they are stimulants. You heard me, what speeds others up slows us down. Because my medicine is a stimulant, I must take a sleeping medication at night, otherwise I can't sleep. However, on days when I don't take or forget my morning medication, I do not need to take my nighttime. If I forget my morning medication, I can use caffeine. Caffeine is also a stimulant and acts like a shorter-lasting version of my medication and allows me to sleep. Maintaining ADHD seems easy enough, but it's not always a walk in the park. When I was younger, I used to have what my parents would call the rebound effect. This rebound effect would occur shortly after dinner time when my medicine wore off. I was off the walls. I would talk incessantly, I'd be running around the house, I'd be eating my family out of house and home, which I still do when I'm off of medicine. See, my medicine is what tells me I'm full. And when I'm off my meds, there's some kind of miscommunication between my brain and my stomach, making me think I'm always hungry. So, one stereotype of ADHD is that the main symptom is a lack of focus, which is only half true. It isn't that I can't focus, it's that I hyperfocus on the wrong thing. Originally, I was going to write this speech on stereotyping mental illnesses in general, but I focused on the ADHD. So, let's take a moment as I explain my purpose. Hopefully my train of thought didn't drop us at the wrong station. Is it the truth? I can't stand here and honestly say that what I have told you is the truth about ADHD. It's the truth about my ADHD. Everyone is different. This is true for me because this is how my brain works and how I cope with it. In fact, this is really the first time I have successfully explained my condition without just calling myself crazy. Is it fair to all concerned? No, learning disabilities are not fair. They put stress on parents because they have to understand their child and show support. Learning disabilities also put stress on the student because at times the student is just as lost as the parent. For example, I will be fully aware that I am distracted, but I am incapable of doing anything about it. And I don't know how. So, will it build goodwill and better friendships? I think now that I can explain my situation, I can help my friends, family, and other third parties understand how I think and how they can be supportive of their own mentally challenged student. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? I've never been able to talk about my ADHD like this. Being able to help others understand your obstacles is the best way to overcome them. For crying out loud, I'm standing here in a room consisting of mostly strangers, talking about something that has caused me immense amount of stress. And I'm not even sure how I haven't passed out yet. As I've been delivering this speech, you may have noticed some facial expressions going on. These facial expressions used to be out of my control and over-exaggerated due to my hyperactivity. People used to tease me for them. I can't say I blame them. They didn't know. They didn't know that I'd go home and look at myself in the mirror and have a conversation with myself trying to keep a poker face. I would try to repress my ADHD, or I'd fake a migraine so I could be sent home. Anyway, I digress. What I'm trying to say is that those bullies taught me an important lesson, one that many students with learning disabilities have not yet learned. These bullies made me think I had to repress my ADHD, and I did so for years and barely had any friends. Now I've realized it doesn't matter what my 6th grade class thought of me. I have come to terms with having a mental illness, and I don't care who knows I have one. The best way to cope with a learning disability is to embrace your uniqueness. ADHD is a part of me, and my friends love me for it because I know the best way to distract them from their own problems. Distractions are what makes life beautiful. You have to stop to smell the roses, and trust me, they smell sweet. Thank you.
How many of you have a senior that's here tonight? We want you to know that the Merrimack Rotary Club is giving more scholarships this year, and you can apply for those scholarships with the guidance department at the high school. It's very substantial. It's been a very good program. We've been trying to put money in the pot for years, and now we're able to even give more scholarships. We have participant number 9.
With so many problems left unsolved, it seems as if we walk in this world with our eyes closed. One of these problems that are still left neglected to this day is the absence of educational programs for children with learning disabilities in New Hampshire. With the priority of these specific types of schools being Massachusetts and places such as Billerica and Drake, the difficulty of finding a reliable and inexpensive school with an optional program for children with these impairments has increased dramatically, and many parents in New Hampshire are left with no choice but to place their child in low-budget schools without such programs. Also, the truth is that in many of these schools in New Hampshire, children with these disabilities, such as autism, who need genuine help, are not given as much special attention as needed. And the students who need extra help with their behavior and their academics are given less attention than those who have no problems with learning whatsoever. Is it fair to all who are concerned? Yes, having more schools who focus specifically on educating children with these special disabilities is fair to all who are concerned. In fact, when children with learning disabilities aren't given enough attention or aren't corrected properly in school, it can create other problems for both children and their families. For instance, a few years ago, when my cousin Jackson had turned 3 years old, his mother decided to place him in a preschool with a special education program so that it would be beneficial to helping him progress in his learning due to his troubles he had based on his autism. After a few weeks of being in the program, my cousin's behavior started to change dramatically for the worse. Instead of coming home and telling his mother about everything he had learned in school that day, he would come home with tears running down his face and bruises on his arms that we had never seen before, and also a temper that we never thought could have ever existed. Like any good parent, the first time my aunt saw the bruises on her child's arms, she called the school demanding to know why her son had come home in a bad mood and why there had been multiple bruises going down his arms. My aunt was shocked when the response had been that Jackson's behavior had been horrible and that they had corrected him by isolating him from the other children until his behavior has changed, and that the bruises must have come from somewhere else. After realizing that the school Jackson had been going to not only didn't understand how to take care of children with learning disabilities, but was also teaching them how to have worse behavior and had caused more problems for Jackson than it had solved, my aunt removed him from that learning center and continued on to search for a better school. This just goes to show that when children with different learning capabilities, such as my cousin Jackson, aren't provided with the right kind of special attention, the results can end up being worse instead of better. Will having more special education programs for children with disabilities build goodwill and better friendships? Yes. Having better educational programs for children with learning disabilities would build both goodwill and better friendships. There would be more trustworthy schools that specialize in helping children who have a difficult time when it comes to learning and behaving, which would help each child progress as individuals both socially and in their education. Also, with the help of teachers who are educated specifically in helping children with special needs, the children would benefit from being taught how to behave appropriately with others instead of being punished and left in confusion like my nephew had been. As a result, the children would be more likely to form a stronger friendship and better behavior. Would it be beneficial to all concerned? Yes. It would be beneficial to both the parents and the children, or the parents of the children and of the children themselves for many reasons. Children who have learning disabilities learn differently than those who don't. Therefore, by being in an environment where the educators specialize in teaching students with learning disabilities, parents can sleep better knowing that their child was being watched closely and safely by a trained professional, and weren't coming home from school with mysterious bruises and outrageous temper tantrums that continuously grew worse as the school year proceeded. The children would feel more comfortable around the teachers and other students and would benefit from their teachers' ability to curb their bad behavior by teaching them positive behavior instead of punishing them and consequently making their attitudes worse by accident. And lastly, finding a school for children with a difficult time comprehending would be much easier for families who have children with disabilities. Overall, these special education programs would create an opportunity for children to learn at their own pace, become stronger as individuals, be treated fairly among their peers, and help open up the eyes of society to a problem that needs to be changed. Thank you all for listening.
Some of you might have an idea that you want to give more service to the local community, and we are always looking for recruits to help us with service communities. We have a web page. Maureen, tell me again, Merrimack Rotary.
Right, merrimackrotary.org.
And the Facebook page is?
Rotary Club of Merrimack.
Okay. And so you can look on there, and there would be some contact numbers to call us. We meet every Thursday morning. Well, most of us meet every Thursday morning. Some of us, it's pretty hard to meet every Thursday morning. But Thursday morning, 7:15 at the John O'Leary Community Center. And if you are curious at all, you can call, make arrangements, come or contact. You'll get a contact person, and you can come to a meeting. Now we are ready for participant number 10.
Think about this. How many parents do you know that have put their young children into sports? How many of you were put into sports when you were young that you didn't really want to play? From a young age, children are encouraged to play rec sports that they maybe don't want to. Soccer, t-ball, and basketball are popular among kindergarten, first, and second graders. However, around the age of 8, teams are split by gender. There are also sports introduced around this age that are generally boys only or girls only. These would include football and cheerleading. Another factor that separates girls and boys in sports is the stereotype that boys are tougher and stronger than girls. Genetically, it's true that boys have more muscle mass and a higher endurance level than girls. But that doesn't mean that boys and girls can't play on the same level. My hometown is one example of the truth that sports are split by gender. There is a youth organization, the Merrimack Youth Association, that offers a wide variety of sports for children to learn and play. Children learn the same rules and play together, have the same protection and equipment requirements. Boys and girls play together with no problems from ages 5 to 8. The reason behind this change? Most likely, boys and girls are split around this age because that is when puberty starts. This is the age when boys have cooties and girls are gross. But what if they had to play sports together? This might encourage children to abandon this normal gender bias. One example would be baseball and softball. Softball was originally called indoor baseball and was created so the game could be played indoors. Over time, it became the girls' version of baseball. The ball is twice the size of a baseball, bright green, softer, and is pitched underhand and closer to the batter. The infield and outfield are smaller in softball. From home plate to first base, first to second, second to third, and third to home, the distance is 60 feet in softball. But in baseball, they're 90 feet apart. And the outfield is at least 100 feet longer in baseball. Another example is boys and girls lacrosse. Girls lacrosse is almost a completely different sport. Boys wear helmets and chest pads and gloves, and they can check and push the other team around. Girls, we wear mouth guard, goggles, and skirts. We can't check or touch another player without having a referee blow their whistle. The sticks that we play with have a much more shallow pocket than boys, making it a lot easier to check the ball out of the stick without having to push the other team around and get rough. A girl's stick has to have a pocket so the ball cannot be seen over the side when it's held horizontally. And a boy's stick has to have a pocket deep enough where it can be seen over the side. A girl's stick head has to be strung in a certain pattern, and it cannot be strung with mesh, whereas a boy's stick can use a variety of different types of stringing patterns and different mesh or string or whatever you want to use. Also, the sticks in girls lacrosse are about 5 inches shorter than boys, and on the defensive end in boys lacrosse, their sticks are anywhere from 10 to 15 inches longer than a girl's stick. There is also a circle with a 3-foot radius around the goalie. Girls cannot step inside that circle at any point during the game because it is dangerous for the goalie. Boys can step in that circle if they're on the defense and they want to cut through and go to the back to mark up on another player. The games themselves also differ in length and time. A girls' lacrosse game consists of 2 20 to 30-minute halves with 12 players on the field, and a boys' game is 4 8 to 15-minute quarters with 10 players on the field. The face-off is another huge difference between boys and girls. In boys, the face-off is very similar to hockey, where the ball is placed in the middle and 2 players are on the ground. When the whistle blows, they fight for the ball. In girls' lacrosse, a ball is placed between 2 stick heads, and when the whistle blows, the sticks are swung up to release the ball. It's very similar to how a face-off is in basketball. It is not fair for girls to have to play a less aggressive version of boys' sports. If introduced at a young age, girls can be just as good as boys at the same exact level. At the college level, more males are athletes than females are, but females make up about 57% of college students. The money colleges spend on their athletics teams tends to be unequally divided, with male sports receiving about 2/3 of the money. Also, many colleges also offer less scholarship money for girls. Males tend to receive 55% and girls only get 45%. This small 10% difference carries over into the professional world of sports. Women are still paid a lot less than men. Even people who coach men's sports, especially in college, make almost double what female sports coaches would make. In the media, 96% of sports coverage was on male sports. This study was done over the course of 20 years, ending in 2009, by the University of Southern California and Purdue. This seems a little outrageous, but when was the last time you actually saw a girls' sport on TV? ESPN, Channel 9 News, ABC, NBC, they always cover male sports. Whether boys and girls play on the same team or separate teams, friendships are always made. Teammates have strong bonds that are different from other friendships. Athletes, male or female, tend to get along really well, especially if they play the same sport. But sometimes there's a lot of tension if they play the same sport because the rules can be so different. Boys tend to think that their version is a lot harder, so that they must be the better athletes. They tell girls that the sport they play is so easy and it's not a real sport. Other times, the sports are so different that the boys and girls don't even really associate with each other as playing the same sport. It's really hit or miss with these friendships, but having boys and girls as teammates could really encourage those friendships between genders. The only benefit to separating boys and girls is the safety factor. Other than that, it has no real benefit. Yes, boys tend to be more aggressive, but that doesn't mean that girls need to be protected if they're more aggressive. It's impossible to fully protect girls, especially when many of us don't want to be protected. Many girls want to play boys' sports because there aren't as many rules regarding safety. Girls can be just as resilient as boys. Creating different sports for girls that are easier indirectly tells them that they can't play at the same level as their male counterparts. This hurts their self-esteem when they're told that they can't play football or baseball with the guys because she's a girl. This creates a harsh line between boys and girls that's nearly impossible to cross. So let me ask you, is it right to separate boys and girls in sports, or is it just another way to give boys the upper hand?
I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say that participant number 10 will be down, and you can have a rest from me here at this point. Thank you.
As most students were walking on into school on the first day of high school, I was nervous. Where was my first period class? What if I'm late? And worst of all, who am I going to sit with at lunch? As a 21st century, 14-year-old girl, these questions flying through my head seemed pretty normal. This is where our problem lies. The expectations that high school students have put on them from outside parties have increased greatly in recent years. Expectation increases are not only caused by parents and teachers. The peers of high school students to push one another to reach these expectations have been set by our society. According to the U.S. Today News, in 2014, 27% of high school students have extreme stress. Although not all students feel this way, expectations lead to undue stress. 40% of teens feel angry because of stress, 36% feel anxious, and 33% are overwhelmed. I could throw around a bunch of absurd statistics like these, but that would just glamorize this exponentially increasing problem that needs change. As a senior in high school planning to go to college this fall, I hope to decrease this problem for future students. Is it the truth? Yes. Expectations for high school students are too high. As I was entering into high school, both of my siblings were beginning college. Being 4 years younger than them, I didn't know why they were getting worked up about their schoolwork or trying to balance all of their commitments during high school and their college years. Once the ball started rolling my freshman year, I realized why they were stressed out about school. I realized that if I wanted to go to a prestigious college, I needed to do more than just the schoolwork. Leading up to 9th grade, school was a breeze for me. I could do the absolute bare minimum and still do better than the average student. Once high school began, there was no more spoon-feeding, and I needed to really put in hard work to achieve good grades while balancing each aspect of my life. I had to figure out how I was going to wake up at the crack of dawn 5 times a week, get to class by 7:30, go through a rigorous class schedule, go to club meetings, field hockey practice until 5:30, come home and have a family dinner, and then I had to tackle all of my homework, still while maintaining friendships. Each high school student has their own hectic schedule that contributes to high stress levels. Is it fair? No. All high school students find their stressors in different places. Mine happened to be in college. As I watched my siblings go off to college, I felt as though I needed to mold myself into the ideal applicant for a high-ranking school. Although most of the pressure to do well in school and to continue on to college was from within, I didn't think that the stress level was this necessary. On the contrary, no matter the situation a person is in, there will always be stress, but I don't think that expectation levels like these should be as high. In my opinion, I think that high school should focus on exploring your potential future career options, gaining a strong work ethic, as well as taking advantage of as many opportunities as possible. But high school is not focused on that. There is too much emphasis on the numbers we find on our Power School accounts. Will it build goodwill? No. Although these expectations can lead to students building friendships with their classmates, there are more beneficial ways to gain friends. According to the U.S. Today News, 26% of high school students report being rude to peers due to high stress levels. High school students should be maintaining and creating friendships, rather than ruining them due to high expectations. Is it beneficial to all concerned? No. Reducing the expectation levels will be beneficial to all concerned, even if this means requiring all students to participate in some sort of stress-reducing activity each day. For example, we could extend our homeroom periods so that there could be time for students to do something they really enjoy, rather than cramming in that homework they didn't do from the night before. Although the stress of being a high schooler is always going to be present, there are small stepping stones that can be taken to put students at ease. I hope that in the near future, the scared little 14-year-old girls won't be as scared to go into the high school. Thank you.
How many people participate in any of the 4th of July activities that go on in Merrimack this summer? Well, this summer you're going to get to do it. Make this the summer that you do it. The Rotary sponsors most of the activities that happen, and we always need people. We're looking for volunteers to help us out. So if you do want to do that, you don't have to even be a Rotarian. We would like to have more volunteers to help us. And again, you can look to see the things that we're doing on our website and Facebook if you're interested. We are ready for participant number 11. 12. Okay. Thank you.
So you've made it your mission to follow a healthier lifestyle. You've been exercising more, cutting out the fats, and limiting your salt intake. But you can't seem to lose that extra weight you want to. Don't worry, it's not your fault. It's the food manufacturers who add in different kinds of sugar during the canning and packaging process, which adds more kilojoules to the food without any nutritional value. Kilojoules are units of energy, and one of them equals 239 calories. Like salt, sugar is used as a preservative to extend the shelf life. Once you realize all the secrets about foods you eat and the hidden ingredients, you begin to have a new perspective on the choice of things you consume. The truth is, almost everything you eat has sugar in it. Sugar is made up of two molecules, glucose and fructose. Glucose circulates our bodies, feeding our brains and muscles, and fructose goes right to your liver, causing all kinds of problems. If fructose is metabolized in excess, it causes your liver to turn it into fat, which leads to metabolic diseases such as cancer and heart disease. To determine how much sugar has been added to a food product, you should read the ingredients list and identify the terms that mean added sugars. Sugar also goes by other names you might not be familiar with, including corn syrup, dextrin, honey, corn sweeteners, evaporated cane juice, and much more. This is an issue, and if we do not examine the ingredients list on food labels or know sugar's many names, we are most likely unaware of how much sugar we consume each day. The average person eats a whopping 22 teaspoons of added sugar daily and 152 pounds of sugar yearly, according to Dr. Mark Hyman, a practice family physician at 8-time #1 New York Times bestseller, and an internationally recognized leader, speaker, educator, and advocate in his field of medicine. Revealing the truth about hidden sugar is beneficial to all concerned, even if you don't have a weight problem. Not all sugar is bad news. In fact, we do need some sugar in our diets to supply ready energy and fuel our muscles and keep our brains active. The problem is that many processed foods have added sugar, which supplies energy in the form of calories and very little else. A high intake of sugar causes our blood sugar levels to shoot up, giving us that feel-good high, followed by a crashing slump, leaving us tired, irritable, and craving more sugary foods. It's a vicious cycle that is contributing to weight problems as well as health concerns. In 2014, it was recorded in National Center for Health Statistics that more than 2/3, about 66% of adults aged 20 and over are overweight, and nearly 1/3, about 31%, of adults are considered obese in America. It is very sad to say that less than 1/3 of adults are at a healthy weight. This recent research has also shown that Americans are almost twice as likely to become obese than those who live in Europe. Being overweight is not only affecting the person themselves, but also the United States and medical bills. Emory studies show chronic diseases cost $100 to $150 billion yearly. It is not fair to all those concerned about healthy lifestyles that foods are being labeled low-fat or diet foods, but are doing the exact opposite. The deception is that those foods contain extra sugar to help improve their taste and add bulk and texture in place of fat. Many people try to eat healthy and think they are, but are tricked by these food manufacturers and their clever marketing schemes. Of course, not everyone who is overweight is worried or upset about it. Lots of us know happy, confident, overweight people and thin, fit people who are insecure. But because people often feel a pressure to look a certain way, people with weight issues are more likely to feel misunderstood or isolated. Throughout my whole life, my Nana was obese. She was on many different medications, in and out of hospitals, and had to be in a wheelchair whenever we traveled. If she were to stand up, her legs would not be able to support the weight. Not only was this affecting herself with being significantly overweight, it was also hard for my family as well. We had to schedule things around her health condition by making sure there was wheelchair accessibility. This was especially hard for my mom when she was young because her mom couldn't walk like the normal mom, and made it harder for her to go to school and social events. My Nana died at a younger age than most grandparents because her health condition took an evil toll on her. Of course, it's hard when you're already overweight to make a change. Some people feel discouraged and give up or go back to old habits, which is exactly what she did. Growing up with her, not being able to do things my other friends' grandparents could do was definitely hard, but made me realize I never want to get to that point in my life. I enjoy eating healthy and working out. I research a lot about health and nutrition and think about possibly majoring in it in college. I want to see a change in our society and have people educate themselves more on nutrition. Once you begin to lead a healthier life, you will gain more confidence, have more energy, and become a happier person all around. Many health-conscious people start blogs or become nutritionists, and through doing so form friendships with others who have the same passion. You don't have to become a crazy health nut, but if you want to create a healthier life for yourself and decrease your risk of health diseases, I suggest to take it upon yourself and do some research on the healthy foods you think you're eating, because in reality, very little things are actually considered healthy these days.
Those are all the 12 participants. You can see how important this evening is to us. And most of you parents, I don't know if you've even heard their speeches before the students get here. If you haven't, I'm sure that you see a different person than the one that you left home with tonight. These students have to do a great deal of research. The pros and cons have to be realistic. Then to get up in front of a camera here and to put on this program for us takes a great deal of courage. Every single one of you showed a lot of passion. Some of you exposed some of your experiences, and I and everyone else want to commend you for that and applaud for all 12 of these participants. We also want to thank this gentleman for filming the entire program. And you will be able to see yourself on Access TV over and over and over and over again. I have become infamous in past years because I didn't realize where this was to be seen. But you will see yourself, and the person who talked about critiques, be very gentle on yourself. You all did a great job, and thank you for being here tonight. I'm going to make one public announcement. Am I on? Yeah. Of course I am. As you know, I told you the Hollisbrook Line Rotary Group volunteered their time to come over and help with us this evening. They have an incredibly fun, wonderful fundraiser Sunday, February 1st, and you know what day that is, and if you don't, then you don't care enough to go to this anyway. It's on February 1st, which is Super Bowl Sunday. At the Crown Plaza Hotel, they are having the annual family breakfast buffet. I've been there several times with my family. It's a lot of fun. It's a great breakfast. It's $20 a ticket. I'll have tickets from here until then. 6 to 12 years old at $15, adults $20, and 5 and under free. So that's my announcement, Barbara Michael, and you can get a hold of me. The second announcement is going to be we have our winners. I'm going to ask in a minute all the participants to come up here on the stage. All the participants are entitled to $25 for their hard work and coming up here and being so brave and sharing with us today some of your experiences. And then we will announce the other 3 winners. I introduce to you now the chairman of this activity tonight and our Q3 president, Dr. Ron Duville. You want to come up?
Show me the money. So for your participation tonight and great job, well done. Let's have another big hand for everybody. Great. And to start you all off on your college education, if you go, not everybody's going to go, but you can start off your new shop with some. Okay, so we're going to start off with Shannon Healy. Julie Barbarian. Hey, Julie. Renee Murray. Todd Whitaker. Kelly Mathewson. Kelly, thank you. Alexandra Grace. James Jolly. You keep getting taller. Summer McPherson. Allison Poudrette. And now we have the third place finisher, Emily Duval. Shannon Leavenworth, second place. And first place, Amanda Beliveau. And we also have a plaque that'll go along with you, and there'll be a little name tag that'll go with that later. Let's have another round, huh? Great. Thank you very much. Anybody want to make a speech? Thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you.